Hey there! As iOS developers, we master Swift and Foundation framework. We know how to use URLSessions, FileManager, how to deal with Swift strings, and so on. However, when it comes to macOS and command line tools, we could struggle, because often they are written in Bash scripts or using Python, which are not main language which we practice every day. However, there is a way to implement your own command line tools using Swift. And this is exactly what we are going to do today. So, we are going to implement a command line tool named printStrings, which is going to print some text to the command line. There's going to be only one required argument for this command line tool to be used. It's the string, the text to be printed. And there's going to be an optional second one, additional string, additional line of text to be printed. Also, we are going to support the help argument to display the instructions on how to use our command line tool. Alright, let's open Xcode and start with the new package. There are several templates which we could use for this project. Let's go for macOS executable, and we will name it as a printString executable project. So here is our package configuration. Let's tune it a little bit. I would limit the usage of this package for some platforms, for example, for macOS for version 12 and above. Also, let's specify the product for this package. It's going to be the single executable. As agreed, it's going to have a name print strings, and its only target is going to be our print strings executable target. Alright, now let's get to the print string executable itself. So as you can see, currently we only have the main static method over here, and if we would execute it, well, it does what it does. It just prints out the hello world, and then the program ends with the execute 0. So let's introduce some more exit codes to our project. And why it is important. When a command finishes its job, it returns a result as an exit code to the executor. The command could be executed by some user, or it could be executed by another command, which is going to use this result for its internal work. So this is how you could pipeline the data from one command to another. And to return some other main exit code from the executable, we are going to import very special Darwin framework, which is a must-have for anyone who writes executable, because it does have the exit static function, which could return any kind of integer from the executable. So, for example, in this case, it's going to return the execute 34. Alright, now let's introduce some general error type and wrap up the exit code inside of this error. I would suggest it to be a struct. Let's name it something like executable error. It is going to implement an error protocol, and its only property is going to be an exit code. Alright. And to use it, let's introduce some other static method, something like a main executable over here. It is going to throw this exact type of error if something goes wrong, and we could actually make it private and move all our implementation inside this method. And on the outside, now we are able to execute it using the do catch. So here we are executing it using the try. And if something goes wrong and we have an error, then we could exit from our executable using the errors exit code. Alright, sounds good. Okay. So our next task is to parse arguments for this command line tool. And first of all, let's specify the outputs for this parsing. Let's create some enumeration, something like run options for our executable. We are going to support two cases here. It is going to be the show help, which is going to print out the instructions on how to use our command. And the second, the main one, is print strings. As agreed, we are going to have one required string and one optional over here. Okay, so we are almost ready to parse everything. I would prefer to parse each argument one by one, which means that, well, it's better to have some kind of iterator for our arguments. For that, let's create some class, something like arguments iterator. Right, and it's going to have only one method next. So to iterate through the arguments, we are going to need an index, which is going to be an integer. Well, and it could be 0. The thing is that every command, when it is executed, has at least one argument. It is the full file path to that command, and it is not that useful for us. So let's skip it and start any iteration from the argument number 1. And here we are going to check if our index is less than the command line arguments count. Otherwise, we are going to just return nil. And if not, then we are going to return the command line argument. And before that, let's also use the defer to increase the index by 1 if it is needed. Cool. Now when we have our iterator, let's finally implement the argument parser. It's going to be a struct arguments parser, and it's going to have one static method parse. So we do expect it to return our run options, but of course any parsing could fail. So let's introduce some kind of error here, something like parse error of error type, and its only internal property is going to be something like description. So let's keep it simple for now. All right. So inside this parser method, we are going to create an instance of iterator, and then we are going to start iterating through the arguments inside the iterator. Finally, we could switch our argument and check for the expected values. Our first expected value is going to be something like -h, or also known as --help. So this is a request from the user to print out the instructions for this command on how it could be used. And in this case, here we are going to just return the show help from the parse method straight away. All right, how we are going to provide the string to be printed by this command? Let's introduce another argument, something like a -s or --string. So in this case, we need a value of the string, which is going to be provided as the next argument. So let's check for the string to be printed over here. We are going to use guard over here. So if the string is not provided after the string argument, then yeah, we are going to throw something like expected a string value after string argument, right? And if it's so, if it is there, then, well, we need to save this string to be printed somewhere, because, well, we are not able to return run options straight away, because there could be also an additional string. So let's introduce some string variable over here. It's going to be an optional, and we are going to just save the string to be printed to this variable, right? What we're missing? Oh, of course, the parse could throw a parse error. All right. Now let's check for the second string. For example, it could use then AS or minus minus additional string argument. Again, here we are going to look for a string following this argument. Yeah, and if it is not there, then we are going to throw something like expected a string value after additional string argument. And we would need another, let's name it additional string variable over here to save the value of this argument. Nice. And our final case is the case for all the other arguments. In this case, we could just throw the parse error like, yeah, there is some unknown argument. Okay, finally it's time to compile our main run option, and for that we first need to check for all the required options. In our case, it's the string. So yeah, if it is not there, we are going to just throw an error missing required string argument. Otherwise, we are going to just return the print strings with our string and additional string as the part of the configuration. So we have our parser, and let's execute the parsing in our main executable using the do catch closures over here. So we need our parse result, which we could get from the argument parser parse method execution. And if there is some error, then we could throw our general executable error returning some exit code. So let's be, for example, 1. But it is also a good manner to print something out to the output about this error for the debug purposes. So usually people just use print, but it is not technically correct to use print for all the debug outputs if some error occurs. Actually, there is a second standard error output which should be used. So let's introduce some static function like a log, and it's going to log some kind of messages, and it is going to use the fputs method, file put string. So basically it has two arguments to be used, the unsafe pointer to the cchar. So we could convert our message to it like this. Also, let's end each message with an end line. And the second argument is the unsafe mutable pointer to a file. So let's configure it over here. By default, it's going to be the standard one. But for the errors, we could use the special standard error output, which we are going to use exactly in this case. So we are going to print the error description, let's also prefix it with something. I would suggest to use emoji. For example, this red cross over here works perfectly. And the output for that is going to be the STDERR. Nice. All right. So what we are going to do with the parse result? I would say that we need to switch it, of course. And we have two options here, either to show the instructions or do the print strings. So let's first implement the main one. So we are going to have two strings, string and additional string. So we are going to use our log method to log the string, and if there is also an additional string, we are going to log it as well. Cool. As for the show help, we are going to log to the standard output the whole explanation on how to use this command. So let's do it. What we're going to put here. First, let's put the overview. It is the general description of this command. So it prints strings, right? Another nice thing to have is a usage. So here we are providing all the arguments which could be used. So it could be either or -- help. Also, it requires a string, -s or -- string. It is a good manner also to describe what this argument means, like string to be printed. Also, we have the -as or -- additional string. And here is let's copy this, the additional optional string to be printed, right? Let's now put some examples of usage over here. For example, -s and my string. And finally, let's explain all the options in the details. So we have the -h or -- help. It is going to print this message. Also, we have the -s or a double minus string. So it's going to specify the string to be printed. Also, we have an as or -- additional string. Additional string. And it is an optional additional string to be printed. Nice. Now let's align this text a little bit. Yeah, like this. And finally, let's try to build it. Cool. Looks like it works. So now let's check how it works. If you would go to the Xcode settings, then you will find out that currently our build location is the derived data, right? So let's select some custom one, so relative to the workspace. We are going to have the build products directory, and if it is selected like this, then when we are executing the build for profiling, you would see that now we have a new build directory in the root directory for the project, and here is our print string executable. Let's actually copy paste it to the root, and finally we could stress test it. So first of all, let's test the help option. So here is the usage printed for this string, for this command. Now let's execute it probably without any arguments. Yeah, as you see, now we have an error, missing required argument. Okay, let's specify this argument, something like this string. Yeah, it is printed out. And finally, let's also introduce another string to be printed. Yeah, so this is how you create your own command line tools using Swift. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll put a link to this exact wrapper to the description of this video below. If you have any questions or requirements, then feel free to put them to the comment sections. See you next time. Cheers.